What's up everyone and welcome back to the channel. Let's dive into our first news. Khamzat has once again made his intentions clear about fighting on the historic White House card. Recently, he stirred attention on social media by posting the classic building emoji on X, hinting at his desire to be part of the monumental event. Fans immediately picked up on the message, knowing Khamzat rarely holds back when it comes to calling for big opportunities. The momentum grew even more when Dana White revealed the official renderings for the White House card. The announcement had the entire MMA community buzzing, and Khamzat wasted no time jumping in. He left a direct comment under Dana's post, using the pointing finger emoji, a simple but powerful way of saying he wants his spot secured. Khamzat has built his reputation on fearlessness and a willingness to fight anyone anywhere at any time. His latest message is just another reminder that he doesn't want to be left out of one of the most historic nights in UFC history. With the card shaping up to be massive, Khamzat is making sure his name stays front and center as the UFC decides who will step into the spotlight. Before moving to the next news, we have one quick request for you. We are constantly working on improving our content to earn your love and support. That is why we truly appreciate it if you could take just a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update here on MMA Pulse News. Moving on to another news, Ilia has been making headlines again for his bold call out of boxing star Terence Crawford, but not everyone is thrilled with the idea. Recently, Ilia launched a campaign insisting that he could step into the boxing ring and not only compete with Crawford but actually knock him out. This came right around the time when Crawford defeated Canelo Alvarez, which only fueled the hype. But despite the confidence from Ilia, many in the combat sports world have warned that such a move might be a very bad idea. More recently, Michael Chiesa spoke with MMA Junkie and gave his thoughts on the situation. When asked about Ilia wanting to box Crawford, Chiesa made it absolutely clear that he is not interested in seeing that fight happen. He explained that the UFC already went down this road when Conor crossed over to face Floyd Mayweather, and while it was a huge spectacle, it came at a cost. According to Chiesa, the UFC lost a big part of Conor after that fight. He stressed that this isn't the direction Zuffa boxing wants to go. Pulling Ilia into that kind of matchup, in his eyes, would only repeat mistakes from the past. Chiesa also pointed out the big difference between Floyd and Crawford. He explained that Floyd wasn't just one of the best boxers ever, he was also a master promoter. Floyd knew how to talk, how to poke fun, how to sell fights with his sharp tongue. That made the build-up just as exciting as the fight itself. Crawford, while an incredible fighter and one of the best in the world, isn't built the same way. His brand isn't based on trash talk or theatrics, it's built on pure fighting ability. He sells fights because he dominates opponents in the ring, not because of flashy words. Chiesa also noted that Ilia is not Conor. The way Conor hyped up the Mayweather fight was a once-in-a-lifetime moment in combat sports. It was peak Conor trash talk, filled with charisma and sharp wit. That unique skill set helped sell the fight to millions worldwide. Ilia, while exciting and talented, doesn't have that same sharp tongue or ability to stir up global attention in the same way. To make a boxing crossover fight work, Chiesa said it takes two fighters from two completely different worlds, who are both able to generate massive attention with their words and presence. Without that, the chances of such an event happening are slim to none. Adding to that reality, Crawford himself has said he's not even sure if he wants to box again, and he hasn't shown any real interest in fighting Ilia. At the end of the day, this dream matchup looks like it will remain just that, a dream, with very little chance of ever becoming reality. Moving on to another news, Rampage Jackson has finally responded to the arrest of his son Raja Jackson, following the disturbing incident at a Knox Pro Wrestling event. Raja was booked on a felony charge of battery with serious bodily injury after Stuart Smith was hospitalized for multiple days, although he has since been released. The situation caught the attention of the MMA community, and Rampage went live on Kick to give his side of the story and update fans on how he and his family are coping with the news. Rampage made it clear that he believes the authorities were justified in arresting his son, calling the people involved idiots for how they handled the situation and saying that Raja deserves to go to jail. He admitted that he agrees with the arrest but also expressed frustration at the way the narrative has been twisted online. Rampage stressed that misinformation is spreading quickly and people are misrepresenting his words and intentions. He said that he is over the drama, emphasizing that he loves his son, but he recognizes when someone is in the wrong. During the live, Rampage reflected on his own life, making it clear that he has no involvement in the incident and that he is not in any danger of legal consequences himself. He encouraged viewers to focus on positivity and move forward, saying, "Life goes on. Let's try to be positive." He also used the opportunity to promote a larger message about personal responsibility, urging everyone to keep their hands to themselves to prevent incidents like this from happening. Rampage highlighted that everything that occurred was out of his control, and emphasized that he had no part in what happened. Rampage's response combined accountability, love for his son, and a call for broader awareness about personal behavior. He acknowledged the unfortunate nature of the event, but framed it as a lesson for everyone watching. He repeatedly reminded his audience that the situation could have been avoided entirely if people simply respected boundaries and refrained from unnecessary violence. Despite the seriousness of Raja's arrest, Rampage maintained a composed and level-headed approach, making it clear that he will continue with his life while supporting his son in the legal process. He wanted fans to understand that, although the incident is unfortunate, it should serve as a moment of reflection for everyone. He concluded by reinforcing his key point: keeping your hands to yourself is the simplest way to avoid conflicts and unnecessary trouble. By sharing his perspective, Rampage Jackson provided clarity, perspective, and a message of personal responsibility amidst a very difficult situation. Moving on to another news, Dana White has revealed early renderings and new details for the historic UFC White House event in Washington, D.C., and it looks absolutely spectacular. In a recent interview on Fox News, the UFC president shared fresh insights about the event's layout and vision, giving fans a first look at what could be one of the most iconic nights in MMA history. The octagon will be positioned in the center of the South Lawn, with a massive arch and lighting grid to frame the action, creating a visually stunning backdrop featuring the White House and the Washington Monument. Dana explained that the event will be intimate yet grand, with under 5,000 people able to attend directly on the South Lawn, depending on how much space the lawn can safely hold. The octagon itself will weigh a staggering 15,000 pounds, making it a massive operation to set up and ensure everything runs smoothly. The renderings also give a clear sense of scale, showing fighters walking into the octagon with the city's historic landmarks behind them, making the presentation unique and unforgettable for both fighters and fans. In addition to the main area, there will be a massive viewing party on the ellipse, where approximately 85,000 people can gather to watch the fights on big screens. Dana shared that this area will include stages for live music, with bands performing throughout the day, and fans can bring blankets to relax and enjoy the fights. The plan is to create a festival-like atmosphere while keeping all the excitement of a live UFC event front and center. Dana also confirmed that the UFC will host a full week of activities leading up to the fights, including weigh-ins, fan expos, and events at iconic landmarks like the Lincoln Memorial. The idea is to take over Washington, D.C. completely, making the week a true celebration of mixed martial arts and fan engagement. This ambitious setup promises to combine the spectacle of live MMA with the grandeur of one of the most historic locations in the world, ensuring that the White House card will be a landmark moment for the UFC and its fans alike. Moving on to another news, Anik has made it clear that he believes Aljamain Sterling deserves the next shot at the featherweight title. During a recent discussion, Anik explained that Sterling has already proven himself to be a legitimate top contender in the division, and should not be overlooked. He reminded fans that Sterling got one of the rawest deals imaginable as the former undisputed bantamweight champion, and despite moving up in weight, he has continued to perform at a very high level. Anik acknowledged that Sterling did lose to Movsar Evloev, but he was quick to point out that this sport is not a pure meritocracy. Movsar is undefeated in the UFC with a record of 9 straight wins, yet he was recently matched up against Arnold Allen instead of being granted an immediate title opportunity. For Anik, this shows that losses in MMA don't always carry the same weight as fans make them out to. He emphasized that Sterling's defeat to Movsar should not erase everything else he has accomplished since moving to featherweight. The key point for Anik is that Sterling just secured a huge victory over Brian Ortega, a name that carries tremendous weight in the division. That win alone, in his eyes, is as signature a statement as you can make at 145 pounds. Beating a perennial contender like Ortega places Sterling right at the front of the line. Anik even went so far as to compare Sterling's resume to what Leon Edwards had accomplished before finally earning his own title shot at welterweight. He believes that on paper, Sterling's body of work stacks up against any other contender type currently in the mix. Anik explained that fans and analysts sometimes get caught up in the idea of perfection, where one setback is treated as if it erases everything a fighter has achieved. But in reality, the sport doesn't function that way. Context matters. For Sterling, the combination of being a former long-reigning champion, moving up successfully to a tougher division, and defeating one of the division's most respected names in Ortega makes him more than worthy of being next in line. In conclusion, Anik strongly argued that Aljamain Sterling should not be overlooked for the featherweight title shot. Despite the loss to Mufsar, his accomplishments and recent win over Ortega make him the clear #1 contender. For Anik, the path is simple. Sterling deserves the next opportunity to fight for gold. Moving on to another news, breaking reports confirm that Rafael Fiziev has officially pulled out of his scheduled fight with Charles Oliveira at UFC Rio. The news came late last night from AG Fight, who revealed that Fiziev was forced to withdraw due to an injury. At this moment, no further details have been disclosed about the nature of the injury, but it is enough to keep him out of what was set to be one of the most anticipated main events of the year. This fight was expected to deliver fireworks, and now the UFC is scrambling to find a suitable replacement for Oliveira. The moment the news broke, several fighters wasted no time in putting their names forward to step in. Mateusz Gamrot immediately went on X, formerly Twitter, and wrote that he is ready and hungry to jump in, urging the UFC to give him the opportunity. His statement quickly gained traction among fans who have been eager to see him in another big fight. Renato Moicano also reacted to the story with the classic eyes emoji, teasing interest, while Gilbert Burns sent a supportive message wishing Fiziev a speedy recovery, but also added that the matchup would be a banger if he got the call. At the same time, clips resurfaced of Benoît Saint-Denis, who had already expressed his willingness to step in for this exact scenario. In a previous interview with Ariel Helwani, he openly stated that he would accept any opportunity the UFC offered him to face a top 10 opponent, and that he was particularly eyeing the chance to fight either Fiziev or Oliveira. He made it clear that he is ready to step up on short notice, and that he wants to fight and win as much as possible to climb the rankings quickly. With Fiziev now out, the door may have opened for him to get exactly what he was asking for. The MMA community has already started debating who would make the best replacement. Gamrot's grappling-heavy style, Moicano's experience, Burns' star power, and Saint-Denis' rising momentum all bring different dynamics to the table. What remains certain is that the UFC will do everything they can to save the main event and ensure Oliveira still has a worthy opponent in front of him in Rio. It is undoubtedly a tough blow to lose Fiziev, but the excitement remains alive as fans wait to see which fighter will step in and seize the massive opportunity. Moving on to another news, Alexandre Pantoja recently shared his thoughts on Charles Oliveira and whether the former lightweight champion should consider moving up to the welterweight division. Pantoja believes that Oliveira's weight cuts are simply too much for his body to handle at this stage of his career. He explained that when a fighter cuts too much weight, they lose a dangerous amount of water, and that doesn't just affect the body, it affects the brain too. According to him, when you dehydrate yourself that badly, you make your body more vulnerable, your equilibrium suffers, and you put yourself in a dangerous position every time you step into the cage. Pantoja said he doesn't like seeing Oliveira go through that kind of strain just to make 155 pounds. To him, Charles looks too big for lightweight, and maybe it's time to move up. He made it clear that it isn't about doubting Oliveira's abilities, but about protecting his health and career longevity. By moving to 170, the weight cut would be easier, the body would respond better, and he could focus more on performance rather than draining himself just to make weight. He also mentioned that he likes Charles a lot and has met him many times over the years. While they're not very close, he respects him as both a fighter and a person. But even from a distance, just by seeing Oliveira on social media, it's clear how much size he carries and how much stress he goes through during fight week. Pantoja noted that everyone can see it on platforms like Instagram, where Oliveira's training, his body size, and the people around him constantly show how much effort it takes for him to make the lightweight limit. Pantoja compared it to his own situation, explaining that when he cuts weight, it's just him, his coach, and his 2 kids in his corner. That's it. For him, weight cutting is already stressful enough with such a small support system. So when he looks at Oliveira and sees the huge amount of attention, pressure, and eyes on him, it becomes even harder to imagine what he goes through. He admitted he doesn't like seeing that kind of pressure, especially when combined with the dangers of severe weight cutting. For Pantoja, moving up to welterweight would make things easier and healthier for Charles. It would remove the extreme strain, allow him to fight more naturally, and possibly even extend his career at the highest level without putting his body through unnecessary damage. Moving on to another news, Georges St-Pierre recently opened up about the motivations and pressures he faced during his legendary championship reign. In a heartfelt interview, he explained how Anderson Silva and Demetrius Johnson played a massive role in keeping him sharp and pushing him to perform at his very best. GSP admitted that competing at the highest level was never easy, especially with the weight of expectations, but seeing champions like Silva and Johnson constantly raising the bar forced him to do the same. He said that in the sport, once someone breaks a record, others quickly follow, and during his era that was exactly what happened. According to GSP, when you become a champion, you are no longer competing just against your next opponent. Instead, you compete for your legacy. It becomes a battle to cement your name alongside greats from other divisions, and even other sports, to ensure your legacy stands out. That was the true challenge for him, knowing that every fight wasn't just about the win, but about adding to his long-term reputation. He explained that the sport is about performance, and every athlete's brain works differently when it comes to handling pressure. For him, pressure wasn't something to avoid, but something he embraced, knowing it pushed him to reach another level inside the cage. GSP admitted that a big part of preparation is physical, but the mental side is just as important, if not more. The better you prepare your mind, the more you can tilt the odds in your favor. He described one of his greatest assets as being his pride and ego. While many people might see that as negative, for him it was a powerful motivator. He cared deeply about what others thought of him, and he never wanted to disappoint. That responsibility weighed heavy on his shoulders, but it also gave him the drive to become the champion he was. At the same time, he admitted that living with such expectations can drive you crazy, because in society you simply cannot please everyone. He revealed that being a fighter is an incredibly selfish career. It's all about me, and about maximizing performance. That was his life for many years, but when he finally retired, he realized he had to let go of that mindset. Retirement gave him clarity, and he began to understand that he couldn't live for the approval of strangers anymore. What mattered most to him was the opinion of the people he loved, and the people who truly loved him in return. Strangers, fans, critics, he finally accepted he couldn't please them all. Looking back, he found peace in the idea that his legacy was already built, and he no longer needed to chase validation. His pride and his desire to be the best pushed him to greatness, but once he had achieved it, it was time to step away. For GSP, the lesson was clear. Fighting gave him purpose, but life after fighting gave him balance. That's it from MMA Pulse News. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for daily MMA news.